Welcome to Target Score Vancouver podcast. This is episode 5. We are rolling right along. About a third through the season so far. Now it's Chris Wiggins on the sidelines with the CEBL, Andrew Savory on the call, play-by-play with the Vancouver Bandits. We're back. Follow along at Target Score Pod on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube as well. D. Balsera and Matt Bonomi in Brampton with Target Score Brampton, and of course our leader Joey Slattery and Taylor Allen in Winnipeg with Target Score Weekly in Winnipeg too. So we've got lots of the league covered between the three pods, and man, what a great weekend in Kelowna. You and I got back yesterday from Kelowna back to the Lower Mainland. Just a spectacular weekend, a huge basketball celebration, and I could have used one more day in Kelowna. I didn't really get a chance to hit the beach or go to the wineries. I know you snuck in a winery, you lucky dog, you.
I did. I was staring out at the lake, wondering where the storm was going to go. We didn't have those prototypical Kelowna sunny skies, but
No.
that's just a reason to expand in a team, get some more CBL hoops in summertime. And what a performance for the hometown kid, 5 of 5 from Grant Shepherd. That was fun to watch. And Chris, I honestly think the crowd loved it. They got so into it.
Yeah, it was amazing, and what a great venue too, Prospera Place. Great couple of weekends for the city of Kelowna, coming from the Memorial Cup, and then they get us coming to town, the Vancouver Bandits, and the CEBL first home game played for the Vancouver Bandits outside of the Lower Mainland, first CEBL game in Kelowna and the Okanagan. And I talked to the mayor of Kelowna, Tom Dias, on the broadcast. If you're watching, you may have seen. Man, that guy's passionate, and they really are desperate for a pro franchise. I know there's been, I know there's been some rumblings about Kelowna in the CEBL. I won't mention names, but you might recognize one of them. Pretty sizable Canadian basketball name, and it would be really cool. I mean, I remember talking to Kyle Julius, during the off season about sort of the moving parts and how this all came together, and he was like, you know what, like having another team in BC, whether it be Victoria or Kelowna, and have it be a bus trip instead of a flight, and then create that inter-provincial rivalry would be so cool. You look at some of the teams in Ontario. I mean, a lot of these teams get to go up and back. And Scarborough, the Golden Horseshoe and Scarborough and Niagara and, in Brampton, they're sleeping in their own beds. It's a 20-minute bus ride. Like, we would love some of that in British Columbia. And I think Kyle Julius alluded to that, during our conversations in the off season. But man, Kelowna showed out. They showed up, and what a great atmosphere.
Can you imagine Battle of the Coquihalla t-shirts? Like, I feel like those things would sell like hotcakes. I could just see it, especially like a home opener, or maybe a home and home. Like, that suddenly becomes viable. Like, obviously Bandits go out on last weekend's road trip. They take on Niagara, Brampton back to back. Totally feasible. It's not beyond the realm of expectation. Edmonton or Calgary have to do the same. Like, The West goes through BC, and then all of a sudden you just hit Kelowna and keep driving down to the Lower Mainland.
Yeah, it would be epic, man. It would be epic. I like that. The Battle of the Coquihalla. I can kind of picture the logo too, with like, that treacherous highway through the mountains, and what a beautiful drive it was this past weekend. But a big win for the Bandits over the Mamba. I mean, I really thought it was over pretty quickly, to be honest. I mean, no disrespect to Saskatoon, but Vancouver was all over them from the jump. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're probably paying a little bit more attention to the score than I was, just because you're calling every action. But I'm pretty sure it was like 14-2 or 16-2 at one point early on, something like that.
Yeah, big lead.
Yeah, and Mychal Mulder right from the jump. We'll start there with Mychal Mulder. I mean, I can't tell you how nice it is, how good it was to see Mike, knock down his first couple of shots from the land beyond. And I think for him, once he saw one or two go down, it was floodgates, and I think we have all been waiting for that. I know you and I have talked about it. I think he's been waiting for that too. And it must have been such a great confidence boost for Mychal Mulder.
Yeah, we all know the resume. Former Kentucky Wildcat, Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry era, rings abound. Mulder's part of that, of course. And you look at his NBA resume, and fans have been asking, people watching the show, how does that talent not translate quite yet to the CBL? But we try to give the guy some credit. He hasn't played pro in 2 years. But Coach Julius, as you've heard from talking to Coach, is also holding Mulder accountable. There's been times when that shot's not dropping in the third, he is going to take him out. But for him to come out, hit those 4 threes in the first half, he did sizzle in the second. They didn't need him to keep clicking. But like you said, I think once he hits the first 2, the basket just becomes an ocean. And you could really see that as it got hot.
Yeah, I was talking to Kyle before this game in Kelowna, and I actually said, much like Miller Kopp, Mike had a bit of a slow start, and I think all of us are like, wow, Golden State Warriors, NBA, he's played, I think Kyle said something like 100 games in the NBA, or upwards of that number. And it's like, why isn't this guy producing right away? Well, and Kyle said, well, he hasn't played pro in 2 years. And quite frankly, we're trying to give him the minutes to get those, to get his feet back under him again. But maybe there is going to be a little bit of a line drawn in the sand. You saw Dwayne Notice, in the starting lineup in Kelowna, and Dwayne, he first time playing point guard all season. Dwayne posts 12 assists. I mean, he can kind of do it all. I mean, aside from guarding like maybe like a Tyrese Samuel sized guy, Dwayne can pretty much do it all. He can score, he can distribute, and you saw 12 assists from the point god of Vancouver, Dwayne Notice, and it was great to see him kind of be rewarded for the big minutes he's put in over the last couple of games, because he's played really well. He's played really well.
Mr. Seen DMs, you touched on a few things, but I remember early in the season when they were trying to figure out the rotations, Mutabazi was getting some minutes. Dwayne was maybe averaging about 5 minutes a night. Took a couple of games for him to get his first basket this season. And you mentioned the 12 assists, obviously 9 points as well, but only 2 turnovers. So you have a 6-to-1 assisted turnover ratio, which is a coach's dream. But I think the biggest thing for me, Dwayne, team high 34 and a half minutes, which is crazy when you talk about upwards of the most games played in Bandits history, name amongst a bunch of record books, sitting on 9 target score winners, hoping for his 10th this year, which would make him 7th player in CBL history to do so combined in postseason and regular season. He's a journeyman. He's a workhorse. And I just think whatever you ask Dwayne to do, we've seen him take charges, kind of has that Kyle Lowry step into the lane at the last second mentality to his game.
Yeah.
And I think if you're teaching a kid in BC how to play basketball, you probably just say, watch Dwayne Notice.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't like JJ Evison talked to Tyrese Samuel when they were in I believe it was, I guess it was it Brampton or maybe it was Niagara. I can't remember which game it was, but JJ alluded to it with Tyrese. He was like, we've all seen the lore of Dwayne Notice, and Tyrese, gave him his flowers and sang his praises too. And so he's just that likable vet. Everyone loves him. He can step in. And Tyrese was like, he's the best player on our team, across the board. And so that's some big praise from Tyrese Samuel. Anything else you want to touch on with Kelowna, or you want to move back to the road trip in Ontario?
I think the only thing I would say, like, just to give Miller Kopp his flowers as well, you already touched on it. He's been on a good one, like 6 of 13 in that game, but he was also a team high. This is ridiculous. They won by 20. Miller Kopp, considering he played the majority of the game, almost 34 minutes, plus 32. So you talk about like on-court impact. But I also want to draw attention to the fact that heading into Saturday night action in Kelowna, Bandits were the worst rebounding team in the entire CBL. Mm-hmm. Not a great thing. Mind you, Jaden Bediako didn't play that game, but they did out-rebound Saskatoon, which I think is going to be crucially important because, Chris, as we look ahead to Ottawa, they got beat on all the hustle plays and on the glass against Ottawa. And I think as we look ahead against that revenge match, yes, Ottawa 4-4, but they have your numbers so far. And then you have Scarborough coming in at 5-1. You're going to have to own the glass. And hopefully Kelowna is a precursor as we have this 2-game homestand right around the corner.
Yeah, I hosted a bit of a coaching clinic with Kyle and John Giesbrecht with some young coaches in Kelowna after the game. I had a chance to chat with like Kyle, kind of off to the side of the event, before it happened, and he was like, I liked everything about that game. I'm referring to the game in Kelowna. I liked everything about that game except for target time. Guys were talking about where they were going out after, instead of finishing the game. And so not the prettiest of target times or target score times for Vancouver, but they got the job done. Going back to this Ontario road trip, I thought they looked unbelievable in Niagara. I thought they looked great in Brampton. 2 teams that are no slouches to take down, especially Brampton, top of the league for most of the start of the league. They were undefeated. Vancouver gave them their first loss. And then they just kind of ran out of juice in Ottawa. And, and Kyle was very candid with me last week about the travel, about the scheduling. Vancouver and Winnipeg are the only two teams with road back-to-backs. And Kyle wasn't really a huge fan of that, considering, Vancouver is a team that has to fly the farthest, stay in the most hotels, not get the most practice times because of the, the travel and the distance. But yeah, I mean, you could visually see it in Ottawa. They just were not ready. They were exhausted.
Yeah, truly tired legs. You saw it on the glass, and there's going to be some huge matchups. Like, when's the last time you remember Vancouver surrendering two 30-plus point ball games to two separate players on an opposing team? But Justin Harmon, Matthew Cleveland go off for 36 and 35, respectively, both shooting above 50% from the field. Like, Ottawa just took it to them, and full credit to them. And I think that showed in your hits with Kyle prior to Kelowna's action. Like, Kyle was almost alluding to the fact, from what I was reading when you shared those transcriptions, the offense is the same Bandits offense we've seen in years past. It's clicking, but unlike past Bandits years, the defense is a bit of a liability right now. And he almost said that was a good problem, because he's like, you can't teach offensive talent to perform, but you can make defense a little bit better as systems are adopted. And I think that draws attention to the fact this week, assumably, is going to be the first time they've had contact practice in a while. I think it was 4 contact practices to date heading into Kelowna. So you would imagine they're watching a lot of film. They're banging bodies this week. And I think we're going to see a much different team this weekend against Ottawa and Scarborough.
Yeah, I'll just read some of what he said to me. I know you talked about it a little bit, just like, some of the transcribing I sent our broadcast team. But I mean, basically for, talking about their defense of late, Kyle just said, I don't think we've been good ever defensively at all yet this season. Right from the start, I think, with the group that we've had, the guys that play the bulk of the minutes had no training camp. Jalen came in the night before the first game and played huge minutes. He didn't get any of our defensive install because of that. Same thing with Jarkel Joyner. Mychal Mulder didn't have training camp because he got hurt on the first day. And, he says, I don't think some of our guys are great individual defenders just yet. And I don't think we've been good at all defensively. And like you said, he alluded to it as well. He just said, I think that's a really good sign, because he's had a lot of teams that have been very good from the jump. And he kind of said, like, we haven't really had a team that's kind of peaked at the right time. We've just been very good throughout the entire year, the last 2 seasons. And maybe that's what he's alluding to with the defensive, the defense thing, where, we're not great right now. We haven't been great all year yet, but hopefully we peak at the right time. And maybe that's what he's expecting from this group a little later on. Again, we've said it a few times on this podcast. There are 2 or 3 or 4 guys, Shamar Gibbons being one of them. We can say that one at least, because that one's been announced as signed. 2 other names that you're going to recognize as well that have been here before. So there's that. Things are going to change pretty quickly. I would imagine that's going to happen within the next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, some of those overseas seasons, a lot of players that we hear are in playoff runs, cup runs, starting to become available. So I think Bandits fans have a lot to be excited about. But I think this group is also earning its chops. And I think when it comes to minutes and what goes around, it's really interesting when you look at Saturday's game. Jalen House doesn't return. Well, he returns, but only briefly, I should say. Collision behind the basket, kind of hits the deck pretty hard, definitely tweaks something in the lower body. We'll see what his status is going to be for Saturday. But what a blessing it's been for the Bandits to have Jarkel Joyner come in.
Yes.
Obviously, Jarkel can play some PG, but Dwayne was doing the facilitation. But Jarkel, it's been 2 target scores. It was either Calgary versus Edmonton, and we saw it on Saturday in Kelowna. He can create for himself in a way very similar that Jalen can. He can back you down. He can take you off the dribble. He's hitting the 3 pretty consistently. And I think he adds a dimension to their offense where he's the first player off the bench. He hasn't started a single game yet, but he's averaging roughly 20 a game, essentially, in all 5 that he's played. So when you're looking for secondary contributions and like that scoring punch, it's going to be really interesting with these new pieces coming in, because he's an import. He's not a Canadian.
Yeah.
So depending on who arrives, how did the minutes shift? And there's only so many touches to go around.
Yeah, I mean, big weekend coming up for the Bandits as well. We'll see if some of those guys arrive before Saturday. So a rematch, like you said, against Ottawa on Saturday. And that will be a revenge game for the Bandits because they just looked awful in the nation's capital last week. And then Scarborough, who's also been very, very good and have won. Yeah, they've only lost once, and it happens to be against Saskatoon, which is crazy to me, to be honest. I mean, it could have been a. I didn't watch the entire game. Admittedly, I didn't watch the entire game, but I mean, I would imagine Scarborough didn't have their best stuff that night. And again, no disrespect to Saskatoon. So that'll be a tough 2 games at home at the LEC, Ottawa and Scarborough. So we'll see our first look at Scarborough too. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine we'll see another night where 2 guys from Ottawa are in the 30s again. I'm sure they'll watch a ton of film. And then facing the second best team in the East in the ends, the Scarborough Shooting Stars, and man, Myles Powell has been balling as well. And so, I would imagine their focus is on containing him and trying to force other guys to score too.
Myles Powell, just unbelievable what he's been doing. League leading 28.3 points per game, a couple crazy target score winners in thrilling fashion in tight games. Like, he's a closer through and through. If Monday's game on the 15th ends up being a tight one, it'll be really interesting because also in your hit with Kyle, when you sent those transcriptions through, he was talking about how the team locks up other teams' alphas. And he was saying, like, we've done an okay job against TDM. And obviously looking at the Clevelands and the Harmons, they didn't do a good job there. But when it comes to Myles Powell, that's just one piece of the puzzle for Scarborough. What's crazy about their lineup is they have 5 players right now averaging double digits in scoring. You have Powell, Javon Johnson, Frank Mitchell, Amir Sims, Trey Thomas, and I haven't even gotten to Charles Bediako, the brother of Jaden, who went back to college this past year, has huge numbers in the G League, national team guy. Shooting ridiculous 76% from the field this year, right around 8 points, 8 rebounds a game. Like, I think Scarborough is going to be the toughest test yet. I know Brampton obviously can light it up, but I think the Bandits need to approach Scarborough in the same way they approached Brampton. Can't give up threes. You got to defensively lock in. And I think that game's probably settled by potentially 7 or less points easily.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to be their toughest test yet. They had a lot of momentum coming off the win against Niagara too. So, fresh legs still kind of, they got themselves acclimated with Ontario and the time change, and they're kind of hit the ground running a little bit once they got to Brampton. So, but I do think Scarborough will be their toughest test yet, defensively as well. Dre Davis, I talked a little bit to Kyle about Dre Davis. He's injured. Not sure when we're going to get him back. But Kyle did say to me that he's our only 4. And Kyle traditionally likes to play 2 bigs, like 2 5s, which we don't really see a ton anymore in, I'll say modern basketball, or I guess where the game is now. But Kyle likes to play 2 bigs, and Dre's their only 4 really in Kyle's mind. So I really don't know what to expect from Dre Davis. I just haven't seen, much of it yet. We haven't seen much of him yet. So wonder if he'll be ready to go this weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think Scarborough is going to be their toughest test yet. The good news is they are normally pretty good at LAC, and that crowd, I would imagine, will be good numbers coming out in forces again like they usually do. And a big, I believe it's Women in Sports Night on Saturday. Is that right? Women in Sports Night on Saturday?
It is. It is on Saturday. I'm excited for that one because usually the Bandits bring out a couple of like pregame speakers, postgame speakers, some activations, hopefully some cool merch. So definitely think the fans got to get a ticket for that one.
Yeah, so that's Saturday night against the Ottawa Blackjacks. Let's go back to Kelowna just for a little bit. I know Mychal Mulder started red hot against Saskatoon. We talked about it off the start of the podcast. I think it was like his first 3-4 shots, maybe. You would probably, again, have a better idea. His first 4 shots went down. Was he 4 for 4?
4 for 4 from deep to start.
4. Yeah, amazing. So it's great, and it's nice to see him kind of start to see some shots fall. And I imagine he'll get a nice confidence boost from that. We had a great chat with Mychal Mulder on the pod here, an earlier recording. So we'll get to that now. And a big night from Kelowna. Mychal Mulder now on Target Score Vancouver. Thanks for doing this, man. We appreciate your time jamming this in on a busy week, and so thanks again.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Probably the guy that's come through this organization that's had the most NBA experience over the years. First of all, what's it been like with the CEBL so far? I know you've had a couple of years off. How have you been adjusting to this league, and what's your thought? What are your thoughts on this league so far?
Yeah, it's been great, man. Over the last few years, I've been kind of keeping tabs on the CEBL and watching its growth and development, and seeing where it's at now. It's really encouraging. I was excited to get out here for this summer, be able to play a season in the league and play a season in Canada. It's my first time not playing in the States, so I was pretty excited to play in Canada and have the opportunity to play in Vancouver, and really see how it's grown. And so far I've been really impressed with it.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's taken a little bit for you to adjust offensively on the floor. You looked a lot more comfortable offensively in the last couple of games. What's changed for you, and how great was it to see some shots finally go down?
Yeah, not much has changed. I think that that's just part of the game. Obviously having a little bit of time off has a lot to do with it. But really, it's just the preparation, just continuing to get back to work every day, prepare, get ready in the walkthroughs, go through shoot arounds at game speed. It's things like that that I think will ultimately lead to success. And so, just kind of doing the little things and doing the right things every day.
When you get rolling like that, like I think you get your first four threes in Kelowna against Saskatoon. When you get rolling like that, does it make it easier for you to get to your spots? You have to keep adjusting as the defense adjusts. Like how does the rest of the game come to you when you start a game hot like that?
Yeah, getting rolling early, I think for most guys, it really sets the tone for the rest of the game, and I do find that that's super helpful. But regardless of the offense, I find that with our team, especially lately, focusing on defense is probably the most important thing. Making sure you're getting stops, getting consistent, good defensive schemes, applying the game plan, following the personnel, following the scouting report. All those things ultimately lead to the most success for us. So it was nice to get rolling early and nice to get settled in on the offensive end. But I think our success will definitely be predicated on basically how well we're able to guard and how well we're able to play defense.
What's so unique about this league is that guys like yourselves, they maybe come a little bit late to training camp. Maybe they report after their playoff series have wrapped up overseas or whatever the case may be, and then ultimately some guys are going to leave halfway through the summer to NBA Summer League or whatever. Again, whatever the case may be. Talk about some of the challenges that you may be experiencing as a player with not really knowing, who's coming in, who's going out, how that changes rotations and maybe affects, your playing time. How are you adjusting to that?
I don't find that that's a huge concern for me personally. Me and a lot of the guys, if you've played professionally for a little bit, especially playing in the G League for some time, you'll see a lot of that. There's a lot of guys in and out. You get guys assigned from the big team. You might get guys who join your team halfway through the season. A lot of times your team looks a lot different later in the season than it does right after training camp, and that's all right. I think that just basically sticking to what your principles are, sticking to what the organization's principles are, and those guys they come in and oftentimes they're coming in and they want to fit in and be able to be plugged in right away. So I find it not too much of a challenge, honestly, to have guys in and out. It's just kind of an opportunity to learn and grow and get to play with some different guys. We're really lucky in this job, to be able to create the friendships and the bonds and the closeness that you do day in and day out. It's a really unique thing, being able to play sports and play at a high level with the guys around you. So honestly, the more opportunities you get to do that with the more guys, I would say the more fortunate you are. But I find that in terms of chemistry and game plan and stuff like that, it's important to work on that in the hidden hours, in the practice time, so that when you get to the game, you're ready to go in full force with whoever's there.
Coach Kyle's pretty candid about this. He'll often say, "Look, I'm a tough guy to get along with. Sometimes guys don't last, through training camp when they come, and experience what I'm all about. What's it been like for you under Kyle? I remember talking to you kind of during training camp, and you said you guys are, very like minded.
Yeah, coach will say the same type of things. I've heard him say things like that, that this is not for everybody. And I can see where he's coming from. He can be intense. He can be, kind of hardcore at times. And I wonder if he ever turns it off. I talk to him outside of basketball a lot, and It feels like he doesn't turn it off very easily, but it's something I really like about him. It's something I really admire. You really know that he cares about the group. You know he cares about the team's success, and you know he cares about your individual success. And it's really something that's easy to get behind. His energy is super high every day. That intensity comes from his love for the game, right? And you always want to play for a coach who cares. I always tell guys like when a coach is yelling at a guy or really hard on a guy, I always make sure to remind them like if they're not yelling at you and they're not talking to you, that means they don't care about you. It's when they're yelling at you and they're locked in on you that they do care about you. So that's the thing with Coach Kyle. It's fun to see him interact with guys and see how hardcore he is because I just like that. I like that intensity and all the coaches that I've had in my career that most of the guys I know would run through a wall for are that way. So for me, I like that he keeps the intensity high.
What about the other coaches on staff? I know what's unique about our organization with the CEBL is John Giesbrecht and the mental performance side. Have you experienced something like that? With another organization and a coach like John.
Yeah, John's fantastic. I had a really good coach when I was in during my time with the Miami Heat, and I did a lot of development with him, a lot of sports psych stuff, on and off the court work with that coach, and with John, it's kind of the same thing. I've spent a lot of time with him since I got here, and he's really good to work with, man. He really allows you to tap into some stuff that might go unnoticed if you just go like day in and day out on a regular basis. So he really allows you to really slow down and observe the things around you and recognize the patterns that you have that might lead you to be sped up or might lead you to feel anxious or things of that nature. So it's really cool working with him off the court. The other day, he kind of came to me and was like, "Yeah, you want to do some work after practice?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And I kind of figured that would be like off court stuff. And he's like, "No, we'll do on court for, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes." And he was putting me through like a shooting workout where he would get me to a high level heart rate and then just kind of like bring me down quickly and see how quickly I could adapt and just bring me back into a calm space and then get me back up again and then get me back into a calm space and that was a really cool experience and I had never really done like a workout where I'm kind of doing inner and outer work at the same time. So I found that really interesting, and I told him like I'd love to do that a couple times a week now. So working with John's been really special, and I think he's been really great for the rest of the group.
I looked up your profile on Basketball Reference, and I added up all the NBA games. You are
Yeah,
maybe you probably know this. You are 101 NBA games. Correct me if
I didn't
I'm.
know that.
Yeah, okay, 101, right over the 100 mark.
Hmm.
And then with that being said, I mean you've shared the court with guys like Steph Curry, Draymond Green. What kind of experience has that been for you to evolve your game? And when you left that organization or when you left the NBA, what did you take with you, after being around guys of that pedigree?
There's a lot to be said that I've taken with me throughout my career. I think that one of the most important things is being adaptable. I've been fortunate enough to play on a lot of good teams, and something that I've always taken pride in and that has led to success for me is being able to be plugged in and adapt to whatever this team is doing like right away. If you're kind of like stuck in one minded and stuck in the same thing, it doesn't often work out for you because the next thing you know, you're with a totally different group and you got totally different schemes and everything's different, right? And I think being able to be adaptable is like super important, as well as Coach Kyle is always talking about being able to be reliable. And that's another thing that I think has led to even more success than just on court stuff. I think that something that's led to a great amount of success for me is I know that the staffs that I've worked for and the players and coaches that I've been around, they know they can look side to side and look to me, they kind of know what they're going to get every day. They know that they don't got to worry about any of the off the court stuff. They know that I'm going to show up on time. They know I'm going to show up and work hard. All these things just lead to being reliable, and I think that those are some of the most important messages that I've been able to take with me.
We'll get you out before target score time with this one. And I know you and I talked in the hallway during training camp. If you're cool with it, will you share that Steve Kerr story you shared with me? Because that was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. Just quickly, like the summary of it is, I don't know if everybody knows, but there's a trigger date for guys who don't have guaranteed contracts. So
I
that
didn't
would
know that. I didn't know. I remember having to ask you what the trigger date meant.
So a trigger date basically is if your contract's not guaranteed, once you make it past this date in your contract, say it's, I don't know what the date was, say it's March 3rd. Once you make it past March 3rd, the rest of your year is guaranteed, right? Um, and so a lot of guys, myself included, around that time are a little bit stressed and anxious because their trigger date's coming up,
Yeah.
and they know that the team's got to make a decision on, whether or not they're going to keep this guy or they're going to pay this guy the rest of the year. A lot of guys move around during right before that trigger date, so it's a high strung date that's circled for a lot of guys in the league. Um, so my trigger day was coming up, and we're on a road trip, and I'm kind of trying to focus on just like playing well, right? I'm in the rotation, I'm shooting the ball well, so I'm trying to ignore the calendar for most of the month. But as it gets a little bit closer, I'm starting to notice. And the night before, I'm kind of like I'm laying in my room, and I'm kind of like I'm feeling like I'm gonna make it. But I lost some sleep. I definitely was up thinking about, how I wonder how the morning's gonna go. But once this clock strikes midnight, like I survived. And so the clock strikes midnight. I stay up a little bit longer, go to sleep, and I wake up early. We have a morning shoot around. I think we're gonna have a meeting, and then we're gonna go to shoot around. And I get an early text from Steve Kerr, and it says something to the effect of like, so like we're good to go. We got Mulder for tonight? Question mark. I see that he made it past his date. Basically like, and then goes with the game plan a little bit, but including me. And so I realized that when he sent the text that he had meant to send it to somebody else. So he meant to send it to one of the other guys who was making those decisions, on the trigger date. So I realized immediately that it wasn't for me, but I thought this was a good opportunity to text him back. And I said, "Yep, good to go. We got Mulder. We're gonna extend him and throw a little bit more money to him." Things of that nature I had sent back to him. It was funny because he realized really quickly, like, oh God, like that wasn't for you. I'm so sorry.
So good.
Um,
So
and
good.
it was good. We went into the meeting, and before we started, he like brought this up about this text message, and all the other guys were laughing. But it was a good moment for me, obviously, to make it past the day, but especially just to be able to like share the. It was like a really lighthearted way to move around it, being able to share it with the rest of the group, and I know that Steve knew what I was going through that night, and
For
he was
sure.
really open,
For
and
sure. Yeah.
so that was a really good time, and kind of a funny experience for us.
I hope it was a big number when you added the number. I hope it was a big.
Oh,
I hope that
I added a couple. I added a couple
couple.
zeros.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Incredible, man. Yeah, it's an amazing story. So thank you for sharing that again. So we do on this show, we do target time. And it's a play on target time on the floor where there's no clock. It's the slowest rapid fire question segment ever. Are you cool with doing this?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's do target time. Okay, hardest player you've ever had to guard. Doesn't matter if it's the NBA, doesn't matter if it's, wherever else you've played CEBL. Hardest player you've ever had to guard.
I'd say Kevin Durant. Like no matter what you do, if you get a stop, it doesn't. It just feels like he missed. It doesn't feel like you made him miss. I'll tell you that.
You have a weird pregame routine? Anything you like to do pregame? Maybe left foot goes first with your socks. Any superstitions like that?
No. I like to take in the crowd a little bit and just kind of embrace the moment around me before the game starts. Especially in my more recent years, just kind of recognizing like how fortunate we are to still be playing. I think about all the guys that I've played with and a lot of guys who aren't playing anymore, and I just kind of like have a quick moment of gratitude before we throw the ball up.
Are you a Drake guy? What's on your Spotify right now?
Iceman been playing heavily.
Yeah, in Vancouver, I'm a BC baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one teammate on the Bandits you trust to make a game-winning shot, other than yourself. I mean, obviously you're going to pick yourself, but other than yourself.
Man, I trust a lot of these guys. But if the ball sprays out and the clock's winding down, like I'd like to see a spray out to Miller Kopp. I'll tell you that.
Damn. Yeah. That guy's settling in really nicely as well, and if he's open, it's going down. I know you're a golf guy. Are you comfortable sharing a golf score you're proud of recently?
I haven't played too much recently. I was thinking about getting my club shipped out here, but then I
Yeah, you
realized
definitely should.
that's a little bit ridiculous. I might just borrow a set from a buddy of mine, or I'm not sure, but I'm still trying to break 80. I've never done it yet. I got a hat that I wear every time I play, tailor made. It says made 79, and I have not made 79. So I'm still aiming for it. So give me a couple more months. We'll see if I can get it out here.
Yeah, you gotta get to some of the, even if you don't ship your clubs out, you gotta get to some of the courses out here, man. It's spectacular. Mountain golf, ocean golf is just incredible. NBA playoffs, NBA finals, or March Madness?
Oof. I'm gonna go NBA Finals.
Damn.
I loved March Madness growing up, and I still do. It's just like now that I'm a little bit more removed from college, I don't find I watch as much college, so I'm not as invested as I used to be. But there's something about the NBA Finals that has always kind of done it for me. I don't know if it's the song or if it's the commercials or
Yeah.
NBA Finals just has it.
Yeah, it's nice to see the trophy back on the floor. I know, early 2000s, that big Larry OB on the floor is just we kind of bullied fans kind of bullied the NBA to do it to bring it back, which is so cool that it is back.
Yeah.
All right, couple more for you. Who's your GOAT? Are you LeBron or an MJ guy?
I'm an MJ guy.
MJ, okay.
I'm an MJ guy. It's about the wins for me, so I gotta take MJ.
Okay, last one because we're out on the West Coast. Beach vacation or mountain vacation?
I'm going beach vacation. I love the mountains. I spend a lot, we go for trails and go for hikes out here, but I still haven't got to hit a lot of the beaches this way. And I think for vacation, personally, I'm a beach guy.
Nice. There's Mychal Mulder with the Vancouver Bandits. Bandits tip off back at the LEC against the Ottawa Blackjacks this Saturday. Thanks for taking the time, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. Amazing night in Kelowna again, and just a well-rounded effort from the Vancouver Bandits. Jarkel Joyner, 23, Tyrese, 22. Mychal Mulder had 16 or 18. Don't quote me, but I know he was very efficient from deep. Grant Shepard, 10 points, 5 for 5. So just an awesome weekend. Can't wait to get back to Kelowna, and we hope to see CEBL basketball back in the Okanagan or in the Okanagan in the near future, moving forward as an expansion team in this league. Okay, so we alluded to it a little bit earlier in the pod. This weekend is Women in Sports Night at LEC, and women and girls. I always add that because the Bandits do such a great job of including the younger generation. I know they do some ball handling and clinics, shooting clinics, leading up on the Bandits floor, which is really great for some of the younger girls of the Lower Mainland that are honing their games. Who are some of your favorite Canadian women's basketball players? I know you are very connected to the WNBA, to women's basketball, whether it be collegiate or overseas that are Canadian. You're an encyclopedia with Canadian basketball. So give me some of your favorite women Canadian basketball players.
Oh, gosh. Well, I want to start off by saying that it's been a really fun year in the W, just seeing the expansion of the Tempo and the Portland Fire. So to West Coastify it, if anyone's within striking distance, go to a Portland Fire game. Both teams as expansion clubs are being great. And Marina Mabry with the Tempo, just crazy hooper. And Kiki Rice, great point guard out of UCLA. But to localize it, I'd say some of my favorite BC women's hoopers to date are some vets: Kim Smith-Gaucher, Teresa Gabriel, ton of records at SFU. Kim Smith-Gaucher, some of the most caps played in Canada basketball history. And then looking back towards even further north, you have some fun players coming out of BC, like Ruth Hamblin coming out of Houston, small town, played at Oregon State. But when I look back east as well, it's hard not to think about some people who have really paved the way. Obviously, people talk about the Kia Nurses of the world, but I also want to give a shout out to the next generation. I think it's super bright. You have Silas Swords coming out at Michigan, big numbers, super excited to where she goes potentially in a WNBA draft class in the future. But also Toby Fournier at Duke, I think probably has a really high ceiling because Sila's a great shooter, but Toby, she's tall, she's mobile. She was dunking in high school, which was crazy. She has that viral element. And I think she had I think they might have got to the Final 8 or the Final 4. I'd have to check how far Duke went. But I just get super psyched for not just the men's team where you saw Gordy Herbert, who's now the men's coach of Team Canada, actually from Penticton. So shout out to Penticton.
No way.
Yeah, current head coach of
No
Team
way.
Canada, making all these guys commit for 2 years. It's that Penticton buy-in. But on the women's side, when it comes to the Olympics, I think they're going to have a solid roster as well. Like, we're looking at the men, we're looking at the Shays, what that generation is going to do. But I think the women are going to fight for a medal. So if you're not locked into the women's team right now, hopefully you learn a little bit before you come to LEC this Saturday, because Canada's producing some great female ballers.
And this is not the first time they've. I mean, you used to work as VP for the Bandits for a handful of years, and we were doing women's and girls and sports night back then too. So this would probably be, I'm going to say, third, fourth, fifth year in a row we're doing this. So it's really great that the Bandits include that that night in their season, the theme nights at the LEC. So it's going to be a great night. Again, there's probably going to be some clinics for some young girls, some guest speakers, as you say. And just, I remember the Vancouver Rise out of the Northern Super League soccer team was in attendance. Wonderful to see the Vancouver Golden Eyes, maybe some of those players in attendance too. So that'll be great. And then again, that's against the Ottawa Blackjacks. I got to be careful because I do some stuff with the BC Lions, and it's Red Blacks and Blackjacks. So Ottawa Blackjacks, in town. And then on Monday, Scarborough Shooting Stars. Anything you want to get to before we wrap here? I know you have here on the notes, we haven't played Winnipeg yet. Anything you want to touch on with that?
I think people who are looking at the standings are saying, like, oh, like you said, Vancouver often runs away with it and they just hold on to it. I think Vancouver hasn't taken enough shots quite yet. I think they've got a couple, and I'm glad that their record this year has kind of fluctuated a little bit more than years past, because as Kyle alluded to, I just want the fans to know, and I forget what IG page it was, but one of the other great pages that's sprouted up following the CBL, they had an allegation where they were saying, one of the analysts was saying that, I really want to find the page, Vancouver has played its best basketball, but Brampton hasn't. And so I want to go on the record and say Vancouver has not played its best basketball quite yet.
I would agree.
There's a lot more efficient shooting. There's a lot more distribution, better assists, less turnovers, and the defense we already touched on. So I just want to say, like, until we play the Winnipegs, until we play the Scarboroughs, until we travel out east again, usually the Quebec road trips are a little bit problematic. I'm pretty sure we have a negative record at the Verdun Auditorium. Montreal always does us a little bit tough, and I think they have some good players there. Obviously, your Freeman Liberties, your Quincy Guerriers. I think until we have another Eastern swing and until we play Winnipeg in Winnipeg, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves quite yet. And that's why I'm glad Vancouver is kind of going back and forth. They've taken a couple losses, but they're figuring out the pieces, and the best is yet to come.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't think they've played their best basketball yet. Again, there's still some guys that are waiting in the wings to show up. And then once those three guys off the top of my head that I can think of, when they show up, things are going to change drastically. So, it's I think some eyebrows are going to be raised when one of the names one of those names is announced very soon, I would imagine. But I would agree with you. They haven't played their best basketball yet, especially defensively. So we shall see what comes of that. Temperature check across the league. Breaking today as we record. It is Monday. Calgary relieving their head coach, Perry Huang, or Huang. I think it's Huang. Huang. Is it Huang? Yeah, Perry Huang. Yeah. They relieved him of his duties. Quite frankly, I don't remember a coach being relieved of his duties this early in the year yet. This is my third summer on the sidelines, fifth summer involved with the league in some capacity, and I don't remember a coach being fired this early. Do you? You've been with the league since day one, so you probably recall a couple.
Yeah, there was a few. The early is what makes the question difficult to pinpoint. Dean Demopoulos was out in Sask in 2023. Tanner Massey came in, but I can't pinpoint where that was. Barnaby Craddock stepped down just due to kind of like time management capacity in 2019, and Jermaine Small came in. That was like 5 or 6 games in as well. Chad Jacobson also stepped down for the Rattlers. So there have been step downs, but when it comes to like a firing, this early, this might be the earliest, and it's been tough for Perry Huang. Like, he has a great coaching resume, and I hope he lands on his feet. Wish him and his family well, because you talk to him sideline, we've talked to him pregame. He's a basketball mind, and I'm sure he'll find his place. He's been in the WNBA before, the G League as well. But for Calgary, like that's an organization that's coming off a championship berth and a loss against Niagara. So the expectations were probably sky high. He's filling in for Caleb Canales, who had a great stint in the CBL last year, but 0-7 in any league, especially in a short season like the CBL, is not going to cut it. And unfortunately, he's the fall guy. I don't think it's all his fault. Ruggsy arrives late. Evan Gilliard's cooled off a little bit in games past, and their rotations aren't quite consistent either. So unfortunate that he's the fall guy. I think he's a better coach than the record shows. So just want to wish him well, but Calgary's in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'll echo what you say as well. I mean, it's, we see this happen in every league, every sport, it happens, and very, very likely 90 to whatever percent of the time, it's not the coach's fault, but those are the ones that fall on the sword, right? Or not fall on the sword, but those are the ones that, take the blame. And so, he's out 0-7, as you said, in Calgary. I'm actually very surprised that they haven't had a victory yet. I'm very surprised they haven't won yet. And they will. They'll probably make a late season push, second half season push. But I did not see this coming from the Calgary Surge, especially with Ruggsy back and Evan Gilliard, as you say. But Vancouver second overall at the moment. Brampton 7-1. Vancouver 6-2, Scarborough 5-1, and then we got a couple at 4-4 with Ottawa and Winnipeg, and then Edmonton and Niagara right behind Montreal there too. So there's the temperature check. And as I said in episode 1 of this podcast, the Bandits just need to hover around 500, a little bit above 500. They've passed those expectations from me because we still have some guys to report. And once that happens, then the real race to the championship happens. So that's where we're at. Any thoughts so far on a third of the season through the CEBL?
Yeah, it's crazy. 8 games in, 24 game slate. Like you said, just contextualizing Calgary, there's still a lot of basketball left to be played. You look at Calgary just to get back to 500. They still have an opportunity to do so. And given you're still going to have those quarterfinals, semifinals, the conference championships, and then obviously really excited for what the finals look like when you go back and forth with hosting on home courts. I wouldn't count anyone out right now. Still very much too early to tell. Calgary is one of those teams that fell victim to a Scarborough Shooting Stars late push. That team's come back a few times in target score time. I think the East is extremely compelling, but I think Edmonton, adding in Isaiah Moore, just to do another temperature check, he's someone who's like a great rim runner for Ottawa in years past. I think Edmonton, next time the Bandits get them, is going to be a harder fight. I think the Mamba, like we said, they took down a Scarborough, so clearly they have another gear. Obviously, that was a road trip for the Shooting Stars, but I think Isaiah Fox is a good coach. And I think the Mamba are going to rack up some wins. They have the individual talent in Tavian Dunmartin. And I definitely think we're going to see a little bit more shuffling. And other teams have a couple king of spades in their pocket as well. I don't know if that's the way the expression goes. I'm clearly not a great poker player, but ace of spades, I should probably say.
There you go, ace of spades. I was going to say, I'll play poker like, for fun or whatever around the table with the guys. But if you hadn't said anything, I would have bought it. Yeah, king of spades is a good card too. So
it's a great card, but other teams... Vancouver, like you said, has a couple guys coming in. And if fans are excited about that, they need to take it with a grain of salt because other teams are thinking the exact same thing.
For sure. That's part of this league. And then we're going to lose guys to NBA Summer League. It's just going to happen. Every team's going to go through the ups and downs of guys coming in and out. And that's to some people, the frustrating part of this league. I personally think it's kind of fun. It makes this league what it is. As much as I would love to see this league be a fall and winter full-time league, it's the uniqueness of our league, and that's what's so cool about it. Okay, so Bandits, two more home games coming up at the LEC Saturday night against the Ottawa Blackjacks. I love these 6:00 starts, by the way, on Saturday night. Easier for families, easier on my bedtime, so I'll take it. And that's women and girls in sports night. And then on Monday against Scarborough, we're back to a 7:00 tip, both at LEC. So that's what's coming up for the Vancouver Bandits. that'll do it for another edition of Target Score Vancouver Pod. Again, find us on Instagram at Target Score Pod. We're on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you, my friend, and I will see you on Saturday night, and hopefully everybody else listening on Saturday night at LAC. That'll do it for us. Take care.